everyone, it's the Vigilant Christian Mario, and you're here for another edition of Vigilant Biblical Teaching. In today's video, I wanted to expose the Mormon Church. It is absolutely not Christian, it is Illuminati. So what I'm going to do today is show you how the Mormon Church was actually started by a Freemason in order to deceive people with a false version of Christianity. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to play a video from Bible Flockbox, his second channel, called 9 Facts the Mormon Church Doesn't Want You to Know. What I'll do is just simply comment and critique the video. So let's get into it.
Hello and welcome to my channel, Bible Flockbox. In this video, I'm going to be discussing 9 facts about Mormonism that the Church of Latter-day Saints doesn't want you to know. Fact number 1, Joseph Smith, the founder and so-called prophet of the LDS Church, was a Freemason.
Okay, so that's important for us to understand that this church was actually started by a Freemason. You cannot be a true Christian and a true Freemason. It's impossible. Other evidence that shows the Freemasonic Illuminati establishment of this false religion is this article here. I'll leave in the description section. It's from the Vigilant Citizen on the temple, the Mormon temple. And if you're going to notice here, you're going to start to see that there's pentagrams all over the place. There's sun, moon, and stars because in Freemasonry they worship the creation itself. There's the all-seeing eye. Also, they have secret handshakes on the walls. Now, this is something Freemasons do, so it's no surprise, being that their leader was a Freemason, that he is hiding the Luciferian Illuminati teachings under the guise of Christianity. So in this article, you can find a lot of stuff describing the Masonic Illuminati Mormon Temple. I mean, this is in their children's room. We have straight up pentagrams. The Jesus statue is actually casting a shadow on the world. It is not the light of the world. As you can see, it's darkening the world. So that's explained in here as well. So there's a lot of symbolism, pentagrams all over the place. So check that out for sure. So just wanted to point that out, that not only was he a Freemason, but you can go to the temple and it's just full of Illuminati symbolism.
He even founded a Masonic lodge in 1842 in Nauvoo, Illinois. Smith remained a Freemason until his death. Why is this significant? For several reasons. The very idea of a secret society is counterproductive to the teachings of the Bible. This is reflected in John chapter 18 verse 20, where Jesus said, "In secret have I said nothing." Also, Joseph Smith seemed to have borrowed from Freemasonry when developing the Mormon religion, because the temple ordinances, specifically the endowment session, employ ritual elements that have similarities to those that are performed in Masonic lodges, including secret handshakes and the type of clothing worn. Here is an example of a Masonic handshake alongside a Mormon handshake.
And as I pointed out, they actually have the handshake on the building, you know. So obviously there's a link here to Freemasonry. As he's pointing out, it's the same thing. Why they do this is because there's certain levels and you got to have secret codes, secret handshakes, because it's a secret society masquerading as a Christian church.
As you can see, they are identical. Not to mention, there are quite a few Masonic symbols found on and in the Mormon temple in Utah. Here is the all-seeing eye. Here is a Masonic handshake. And here are a couple of inverted pentagrams. Not surprisingly, Freemasonry seems to have had an impact in Mormon doctrine as well. Freemasonry, which is part of the occult, teaches that adherents can attain to godhood. Mormonism teaches that one can become God as well, like our Heavenly Father.
And that is when we know absolutely that it is Illuminati, because the Illuminati believe that they are gods. They believe that they have the non-dualistic knowledge of good and evil, and that they can transform themselves into gods. So the Mormons fundamentally believe the same thing, and again, it's just because they are Illuminati.
It teaches that worthy Mormons will one day become gods and be given the ability to rule over their own planet and create spiritual children with their goddess wives. Fact number 2. The Book of Mormon is totally unreliable. Some reasons for this is because the golden plates from which the Book of Mormon was translated were never physically seen by anyone. They were only supposedly seen by 11 witnesses in a vision by faith. Not to mention, It was translated from a supposed language that doesn't exist, which Joseph Smith called Reformed Egyptian. So good luck trying to find a language expert to verify that. Moreover, how Joseph Smith translated those golden plates? He basically used magic spectacles and a seer's stone. The magic spectacles were two clear stones set in a frame that would allow him to see the ancient characters of the golden plates written in English. However, the golden plates were not actually used in this process, just the spectacles alone. About the seer's stone, he would put it into a hat and then bury his face into the hat to get the English translation of the golden plates. Again, the golden plates themselves were not used in this process. They were actually never referred to during any part of the translation process. In his younger days, Joseph Smith even used a seer stone to look for buried treasure. This is basically sorcery. So that means that Joseph Smith employed sorcery to translate the Book of Mormon. And of course, that's what he had to do since he didn't have an education in ancient languages. By the way, where are the golden plates from which the Book of Mormon was translated, in case anyone would like to analyze them? Joseph Smith supposedly gave them back to the angel Moroni after the translation. Not to mention, tribes that the Book of Mormon claims to have existed in the ancient Americas, like the Nephites or Lamanites, have never been confirmed by archaeologists. There is absolutely no evidence that they ever existed. Also, there is no evidence for crops that the Nephites supposedly grew, like barley, figs, grapes, and wheat. Ancient Americans lived off maize, lima beans, tomatoes, and squash, to name a few. Some animals that the Nephites raised, according to the Book of Mormon, were not around in the Americas during their time period as well, like goats, horses, sheep, and elephants. It is also claimed by some that the Book of Mormon is actually a plagiarism of an unpublished story written by Solomon Spaulding, entitled Manuscript Found, which bears many similarities to the Book of Mormon, including the words Nephi, Mormon, Moroni, and Lamanites. Fact number 3. The LDS Church taught racism against blacks for nearly 150 years. It taught that there was a rebellion in heaven between Lucifer and the Council of the Gods. There were 3 groups of spirit children.
Okay, I just want to point this out because I've talked about this before. The Illuminati cult at the very top of the pyramid are I guarantee they're white. They're not African American or dark skinned. They're all white. And how we know that, if we go back historically and we look at Hitler when he was trying to create his superhuman race, his occult satanic superhuman, it was necessary that the person be white with blonde hair. Why? Why does that matter? And why all the oppression against black Americans? The Illuminati definitely are a bunch of white psychotic supremacists who are devil worshippers. And this is a characteristic, you kind of see this all the time. They're extremely racist, so I just wanted to point that out. The top of the pyramid is full of white men who are pure white supremacists, illuminist Nazis, crazies.
Involved in this conflict. One sided with Lucifer, one sided with the gods, and the third remained neutral. Those that remained neutral gained the displeasure of God the Father, and as a result were cursed to be born with black skin here on earth. This excluded black Mormons from holding the LDS priesthood position or entering the Mormon temple. Brigham Young, the second and so-called prophet of the LDS Church, even went so far as to say that the penalty for bearing interracial children is death. However, because of this racist teaching, the LDS Church experienced heavy political pressure. Therefore, on June 8, 1978, LDS President Spencer W. Kimball, after spending many hours in the upper room of the LDS temple, supposedly received a revelation from God and claimed that God had removed the curse. All worthy black men could now receive the priesthood. Fact number 4. Joseph Smith claimed that people lived on the moon. He said they dressed like Quakers, were about 6 feet tall, and lived to be about 1,000 years old. He even said that it was his responsibility to preach the gospel to them. The second president of the LDS Church, Brigham Young, even claimed that there was life on the sun. Fact number 5. The LDS Church officially practiced polygamy for nearly 40 years. It started when the so-called prophet Joseph Smith received a revelation on the matter in 1831. It became public in 1852, and it came to an end in 1890. Joseph Smith was himself said to have married at least 30 wives before his death. Some of them were teenagers, and some of them were already married to other men, which means they had to give up their current marriage in order to be united to Joseph Smith. The end of the practice of polygamy came at a time when the U.S. Congress started seizing the assets of the Mormon Church for being out of conformity with the U.S. law, which prohibits polygamy. So the then president of the church, Wilford Woodruff, wrote a manifesto prohibiting polygamy in the church. Since this manifesto was not a divine revelation, some Mormons did not accept it and went on practicing polygamy and continue to do so to this day. They are called Mormon fundamentalists. Fact number 6. The LDS Church claims that Joseph Smith will judge us in the final judgment. Brigham Young, the second president and prophet of the church, wrote, "No man or woman in this dispensation will ever enter into the celestial kingdom of God without the consent of Joseph Smith. Every man and woman must have the certificate of Joseph Smith, Jr. as a passport to their entrance into the mansion where God and Christ are. Joseph Smith reigns there as supreme a being in his sphere, capacity, and calling as God does in heaven." Fact number 7. Mormons who frequent the temple wear holy Mormon underwear with magical powers. They call this underwear temple garments. They are required to wear this at all times, both day and night. It symbolizes spiritual purity and supposedly offers them physical and spiritual protection. Fact number 8. Mormons practice Spiritism. Spiritism is the belief that you can communicate with the dead. Mormons receive messages from the dead, pray for the dead, have baptisms for the dead, and even believe that the dead can be assisted and even saved in the next life. The roots of the Mormon religion are steeped in revelations from a spirit named Moroni. Moroni was supposedly a Nephite prophet who compiled the golden plates of the Book of Mormon before his death in the 4th century AD and buried them. Then he returned as an angel to show Joseph Smith where the golden plates were buried. However, spirits of the dead don't turn into angels, according to the Bible, and holding contact with the spirits of the dead is forbidden in Deuteronomy chapter 18, verses 10 through 20.
So I'll just point out here, I'll just put my take on it. Obviously, this is demonic. What we have here is an individual who is an illuminist, who is communicating with deceptive spirits. Maybe they masqueraded as angels of light, or maybe it wasn't a deception. Maybe he knew entirely what he was doing. But either way, this is extremely demonic. We are to test the spirits. Joseph Smith should have definitely tested that spirit before he started to listen to it.
12. Because those spirits are really demons in disguise who desire to mislead us. Fact number 9. If you drop the second M in the word Mormon, you get moron. If you would like to check out my sources for this video, I have provided links to all of them in the description box. You will notice that there are quite a few of them. One of the reasons for this is because I just could not believe that a church would have beliefs that are so far out there and that people actually fall for this stuff, so I had to check and double check everything to make sure from both Mormon and non-Mormon sources. I have also included a link in the description box to some free online Bible study guides which outline what the Bible.
Alright, so what I'm going to do here is just leave the link for this video in the description section. You can come click on it and check out the resources for yourself. That's a lot of resources, so definitely if you know anyone who's in the Mormon Church, I mean, these guys will come knock on your door. Maybe it's a good video to show them next time they come knock on the door. Just say, hey, do you have time to talk about God? And, you know, gently and lovingly open them up to the truth about this satanic cult that masquerades as Christian. This is the Vigilant Christian saying God bless each and every one of you, and as always, stay vigilant.